In the Western Conference, it is absolutely stacked. But the Clippers did make a lot of changes this offseason. They lose Norm Powell. They add Bradley Beal. They add John Collins, Brook Lopez, Chris Paul. And in the West, if you look at the finals odds for the Western Conference on BetMGM, the Thunder are the favorites at plus 160. The Nuggets and Rockets are both plus 450. And then the Timberwolves are plus 1,000. Clippers are plus 1,100. Lakers are as well. Then the Warriors and the Mavericks. Then the Spurs. Do you think the Clippers being the fifth highest odds in the Western Conference is too high, too low, or is that just right?
It's too low during the off season because that's one of the best times to talk yourself into the Clippers. I always get suckered into buying into a James Harden team at two times, like August to September, where we start getting pictures of Harden in the best shape of his life. The guy's in the gym like crazy. Look at these new moves he's coming up. I love that era of James Harden. And then I also love guaranteed the Clippers will go on a winning streak in like February to March or something like that. Everybody's healthy. They're really clicking on both sides of the ball. They've got a lot of depth. They've got a lot of players who can put the ball on the floor, get their own shot. They've got good, versatile defenders as well. So they'll rip off a whole bunch of wins, I'm sure. And we'll just be talking on podcasts. Do you buy the Clippers? Do you buy the Clippers? I will say yes. And then I'll feel like an absolute clown when it's May and we're not sure if James Harden is going to be performing well. We're not sure if Kawhi Leonard is going to be on the court, but they've done a really good job of having an awesome, basically 1 through 12. Some of their 9, 10, 11, 12 guys would be much higher in the pecking order on some of these other teams. I think it's probably good to have that much depth when everybody on the team is about as old as I am. They definitely are tilted on the veteran side of things, but as we've said with many of James Harden teams, as we've said with a lot of Kawhi Leonard teams, if everybody's healthy, they've got a really good chance. I'm in, at least for right now, KOC.
You know, look, I think fifth with them is fair. I would not go any higher than that for the Clippers. I definitely would not put them ahead of the Thunder, the Nuggets, or the Rockets. I think the only team you could argue is like ahead of the Timberwolves, but the Timberwolves have also been to 2 Western Conference Finals in a row. You know, I would not put them ahead of Minnesota. I think I'd put them behind the Lakers slightly, so 6th rather than 5th. But ultimately, I've been in your position before, Trey, where I believe in the Clippers, and I've always been a Harden believer as well. I've always been a Harden believer.
Yeah, we're two dumb guys who are on the internet too much, KOC. But once you see Harden is like, whoa, he's going to lead the league in assists? How amazing is that? He's shooting 40%. He has 40 points in game 1 of the playoff series like he always does. You can mark him down for 11 in game 6 with another 8 turnovers. But it's fun to buy into the Clippers because, man, if it happens, can you imagine not just James Harden and Chris Paul getting rings, but an actual Clippers championship? Doesn't sound like something that would really happen when you say it out loud, but it's fun to imagine.
I mean, it's like the most Clippers team. You know what I mean? It's a lot of like rejects, people that nobody has ever believed in or always doubted or said will never get a ring. Like it's a bunch of guys like that. Even Bradley Beal, he's like the odd one of that crappy Phoenix situation. You know what I mean? Like he's the one they all wanted to go that was getting the blame. So, I mean, look, I think with this Clippers team, they're old as well. And this is like a young league. Could that be advantageous for them? I don't think so. I don't think so at all in this current state of the league, especially you look at the other young team like the Thunder. They literally just won a title, so now you can't just say they're young anymore when they have the experience as well. I think with the Clippers, man, the reason why I am optimistic about what they can be is because of their front court flexibility. Last year and in recent years, they've been solely reliant on Ivica Zubac as the center. Last year, Ben Simmons is their backup center. I mean, like now they have Brook Lopez. They have John Collins. They can play with 2 bigs. They can play with 1 big. They can play fast up and down with John Collins, or they can slow it down with Lopez and Collins out there. They could go jumbo bigs if they really wanted to do something crazy with Lopez and Zubac. They also drafted a guy in the 2nd round, Yannick Conan Niedenhauser, who's like a big lob threat, and I don't expect him to play much this year. Point being, though, is they have so much flexibility in that front court that's going to help shape their lineups, like we saw with OKC and Minnesota and Boston in recent years, and so many of these high achieving teams. I think when it comes to constructing a lineup, the foundation is your bigs and what you choose to do there. And the Clippers now have flexibility that, Ty Lue just frankly wasn't able to have in recent years. And I think that makes them more interesting to me as a legitimate contender rather than in past years where it was besides Zubats, there was nothing. And Zubats is a great player, but you need more guys behind him and more flexibility in the front court around a guy like that. Do you think is there any truth in that, Trey, or am I just really just pulling at strings here, trying to figure out a reason to feel good about the Clippers?
I'm actually 100% with you. It's the depth era in the NBA. Ty Lue has been a great coach for the Clippers. I can't believe they won 50 games last year with all of the injuries they had. And like you're saying, not a ton of depth. Now, at the very least, they're too deep at basically every position. And like you explained, a lot of these guys, Collins, Lopez, Zubats, you could throw Derek Jones Jr. in the mix as a small ball 5 even. These guys can all play with each other in different combinations. So they've got a lot of versatility. And that's why, for me, I don't know if it's a hot take, I've got them ahead of the Lakers, at least heading into the season. I'm trying to learn, KOC. Last year we saw a Pacers team who maybe doesn't have as much high-end talent as some of the other teams in the Eastern Conference. We saw them go to the NBA Finals, go to a Game 7, largely on the strength of their depth. And I think that we're seeing a lot of success for teams that have multiple players they can go to in emergency situations. It makes it easier during the regular season. It gives their coaches a lot more options in the playoffs. So when you're comparing the Clippers and the Lakers, the Clippers are the older team. The Lakers do have, at the very least, Luka. You're taking ahead of everybody else on the Clippers. LeBron, I don't know if he's ahead of Kawhi at this point or not, but you could say the Lakers have the top 2. But I think after that, it's maybe the next 6 or 7 guys are from the Clippers. So I think the depth is what I'm banking on for the Clippers. And, it's got to hit right sometime, right? Right? I mean, what's going to happen first, KOC? A championship for James Harden and Chris Paul, or Ben Simmons switches hands on his jumper?
Maybe nothing. Maybe the end of the world.
Yeah, it's a push. That was none of that's happening.
I think the championship is more likely than because Ben Simmons for years has had people in his life trying to get him to switch hands, including his former shooting coach in Philadelphia, John Townsend. They experimented with it. There's video footage of it. It didn't happen. And also, he's near the end at this point anyway. Unfortunately, as sad as it is to say, but he hasn't signed with anybody yet. The offseason is so dead right now. Ben Simmons hasn't even signed with anybody yet.
The offseason is so dead right now, we're not even getting Jonathan Kuminga rumors anymore. I got to get excited about a Nafali Dante move. Can you believe it? A restricted free agent actually switched teams.
Oh, my God. There's nothing going on right now. All right, next category here. Trying to take the next step or league pass darlings, ... or eyesores.
Hit me with the league pass darlings.
All right, let's start off with your Chicago Bulls. Your Chicago Bulls.
I was worried they were going to be in this zone.
Back in February, AK, the Bulls GM, said, quote, "I'm happy where we are." At the time, the Bulls were 22-30. They were in 10th place. I thought it was an absolutely comical comment by AK to say such a thing. And, the Bulls, I'm sure he's still happy with where they are. Trey, obviously different standards for the Bulls front office compared to you as a Chicago Bulls fan. What's one thing realistically that's got to happen this year to go down as a good year for your Bulls, for you to feel like you're happy with where they are?
That's a great qualifier. For me to feel happy is a lot different than, the Bulls front office feeling happy, because I think it's pretty reasonable that the Bulls could end up 10th place in the Eastern Conference. And look, if AK was happy in 10th last year, I think he would be happy in 10th once again this year. I ran into a Bulls fan at Summer League, and even at Summer League, this Bulls fan was like, "We love the 10th seed." And that's exactly what it feels like in Chicago. Yeah, I do want to see a 7th championship before I die. It happened so long ago, I'm forgetting what it was like to be a 14-year-old. But the main thing I want to see from the Bulls this year is a step forward for Montas Buzelis. I think that was the most encouraging thing about last season for Chicago, is that after the Zach LaVine trade, Josh Giddey got a lot more control of the offense. They really hyperized the pace. They were playing up and down, and Buzelis got a lot more opportunity. He showed himself to be a really solid defensive playmaker. He's a really good play finisher and an awesome transition player. The Bulls are definitely focused on being a transition team, which plays to Buzelis' strengths, but I'd also like to see him be able to create a little bit in the half court. He's got athleticism, he's got length, he seems to have a handle, and he plays really tough. It's just a matter of figuring out how to score against guys that are easily outweighing him by 40 to 50 pounds. He's a skinny dude despite playing with some ferocity. So I think an encouraging sophomore season from Montas Buzelis is like the main thing I'm watching for from the Bulls this year.
Yeah, I think with Buzelis, it was encouraging overall, his rookie season for sure. To your point about shot creation, according to Synergy, last year he shot 6 of 25 out of isolations, 11 of 31 as the pick and roll ball handler. And, we had a lot more success, coming off of screens as the pick and roll screener, as a spot up guy, attacking closeouts, whatnot. And of course, he had his moments where he shot the hell out of it off the dribble as well. But I think if he's able to take that next step, and if there's like some playmaking off of that as well, that's when he starts to look like that major steal in the draft. I had him ranked 4th in my draft guide that year. He falls, out of the top 10, which was a bit of a surprise to a lot of people on draft night. I think he's going to be a good player, man. Like, I think at a minimum, he showed enough to feel good about what he's going to be. It's just a matter of, does he have star potential, or is he just going to be like a role player type? And I think it's going to be very similar questions this year with Noah Asenge. I think there's no denying what the idea of what his upside could be at 6'9", with fluidity off the dribble, the ability to explode at the rim, versatile defensively and all that. But it's similar questions to Buzelis. How good is he as a shooter? What level does he become as a scorer off the dribble? And is he got to become a meme again?
Yeah, this is a bummer, man.
He had a good game.
Awesome game against the Pacers. I think he had 21. But all
he had a really good game.
Yeah, he had an awesome game, but a brutal poster, absolutely. From Johnny Furphy. You say, can he score off the dribble? Can he dribble would be the number one question I have. Look, I'm not as deep into the draft game as you are, KOC, but when I saw the Bulls pick Asenge, I was kind of happy because people like you and other draft nicks out there had him rated as a super high upside guy, and I think that's what the Bulls need right now. But then they show his highlight package and his strengths are, to me, it seemed like we're running and dunking at this point. I don't know if he had any dribble moves in his highlight package. I don't know if he was making any shots off the dribble, but he's long, he's athletic, and he's super young. So when I'm feeling my most optimistic, I like to think that the Bulls have the next 2 Giannis's. They've got the next American Giannis in Montas Buzelis, and then the French Giannis in Noah Asenge. Giannis wasn't an all-star as a rookie, nor was he as a second-year player, but once he put on some muscle, once he got some reps handling the ball during the Jason Kidd era, he really popped. So, yeah, I would love to see that from Buzelis this year. More likely he ends up as like an Andre Kirilenko type, which would be awesome. And then who knows what happens with Asenge. I hope he actually gets a little bit of a chance with the big team, because I foresee him playing a lot with the Windy City Bulls this year, just so he can develop his body and get some serious professional reps against some other NBA quality players. That being said, I do hope he gets a little bit of a taste playing for the actual Chicago Bulls, and I hope he has some flashes similar to what we saw from Buzelis last year.
Trey, why is he not going to play with the Bulls? Are you trying to give minutes to Pat Williams and Jalen Smith and Okoro? Is that what the Bulls are trying to do instead of feeding minutes to Asenge?
I'm not the coach, KSC. I would be developing the young guys who weigh under 200 pounds. But they're trying to win 38 games and get to the play-in tournament. That's why you got to give Kevin Huerter some run. That's why you got to see if Isaac Okoro can make 2 3-pointers in a game.
Why?
Patrick Williams, man, he might get 10 points in a game. We got to see. This is the year. No, I'm with you. They should be playing the young guys. Vucevic should be gone a long time ago. Kobe White should have been traded last year. They should have traded, got some picks back for Caruso.
You're pro trading him.
Unfortunately, yes. Like, I think he's been a pretty good development story for the Bulls. Had a rough start to his career, but grew into his body, got a lot stronger. His handle got a lot tighter. He's a great shooter. I think he's a good player. They really missed the window to trade him for a serious return last year when he had half a season plus this year on his deal. But, you know, realistically, if it's any other team except for the team I grew up rooting for, I'm saying trade these guys, blow it up, get young, get Cam Boozer so people in Chicago can pull out their Carlos Boozer #5 jersey and wear it next year. That's what should be happening. I just don't realistically think that's what's going to happen based on the track record of the past 25 years.
I mean, it's pretty amazing how much of a trend this is becoming with the Bulls, just hanging on to guys for too long. They did it with Caruso. They did it with Lonzo, for that matter, as well. And they could be doing it with White, where now he's an unrestricted free agent a year from now, so value is going to dip. And maybe they decide that they want to keep him, and that's why they ended up deciding to hold on to him. But, yeah, I look, I mean, I like some of the young guys on the Bulls. I like even like Ayo Dosunmu. I like a lot of the youth in the team. I like Asenge. I really like Buzelis. But it's hard to feel a lot of confidence in them as a franchise moving forward, which is disappointing. It's disappointing. The Bulls should be one of the league's best franchises, right? They should be. They're the Chicago freaking Bulls, man.
Yeah, they still sell jerseys. You turn on an F1 race and there's going to be somebody wearing a Bulls hat in every single crowd.
It's still a great crowd, too. I went to a Bulls game last year and the crowd's great. Yes.
Biggest stadium in the NBA. They always sell out. There's always people ready to cheer for the Bulls. They've got a big market. You're going to have to play in the shadow of Michael Jordan. That's just going to have to be somebody takes on the mantle and wants to be the next person to win a championship for the Bulls. That's one thing I love about Buzelis as a Chicagoland guy. Like, he's fired up to be on the Bulls. He's friends with Caleb Williams on the Bears. I love to see those two young guys, like, leading the next generation of Chicago sports. But it's been a long time without any serious momentum. You know, when I really am at my saddest, I think, yeah, the Bulls only ever were good because two teams passed on Michael Jordan, and then they had the biggest lottery hit of all time to get Derrick Rose, and that lasted 3 seasons. So that's my sad Bulls take. But, you know, I still hang the flag down here in Atlanta. I'm the only Bulls flag on the street, and it'll pay off someday.